Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to officially open the Monday, May 20th, 2013 Regional Governing Board meeting of the Southwest Vermont Regional Technical School District. I want to welcome everyone in attendance. We do have a quorum, so we will proceed. And we'll start out with the first item on the agenda, which is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Right.
Yeah, at every one of the board meetings I attend, I'm telling people to, we're going into teacher negotiations at the end of this year, to have everybody go in open session so we don't have some of the things that went on at our last negotiations. Hopefully everybody will start talking up the superintendent. I've asked her, the board chairs, and if we want to eliminate some of the stuff we went through last time, as you well know, you were there, and I think open session is the way to go, and nobody's got anything to hide, put the cards on the table and go forward. I'll be saying it at every single meeting so people can't say, well, I didn't know about this.
Okay.
Okay?
Fine. All right. Do we have any other comments? Okay, here and then we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. I'm really looking forward to this one. Is the presentation from Mr. Haskins and his students on the Skills USA.
He's the
AAA
auto
on the
AAA auto Ford motor and
Kathy's. Sorry. Come right up to the microphone, Tom. I think that's the best thing to do. And
I'd like to start. I want to introduce Leo.
guys, could you stand around over here because we want to make sure you get on camera, okay? Because especially with that trophy, I want to make sure that the public can see that as well. Thank you. Yeah, could you just turn the mic there? Thanks. Nope. The other way. Good.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Leo Yassi and Brandon Marcoux Schaefer. They're my Auto 2 students this year that took part in the 4 AAA Auto Skills Competition. It starts each year. Early in the year, the students take a classroom-based exam. There's roughly 16 automotive centers in the state, and out of that, the top 10 scores meet the hands-on field, go into the hands-on field. So they have to meet a certain criteria even to go forward for the state championship, which these are 2 guys with the top scorers for the team. They went on to the hands-on competition, which was in Exeter, New Hampshire, at the New England Dragway, and where they had New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont all participating at the same time. So they had 3 separate competitions going on at one place, which made it really nice. They had a great banquet the evening before. They called it the best of the best banquet, where they treated the parents and all the families and all the students, and students got tools and different awards, and the following day they did the competition, and we had 10 cars for the state of Vermont, where we had to, they had an hour and a half that they had to fix a car in. So these guys did a great job. They finished it in just about an hour and a half, right, just under the wire. They had missed 1 bug, which gave them a 16 or 14-minute demerit. So put them in 3rd place. So they did very well. Best part about it is it's all for scholarship money for schools, and they have a pile of scholarships that each student received, roughly $21,000 in scholarships each, but out of that they choose the school that they're interested in, which it really worked out well this year because both students already have plans, and so they get a nice scholarship to get them started on a college career. So, you guys have anything you want to say?
Once again, please.
Go ahead.
Leo Yassi. I'm Brandon Marcoux Schaefer.
And the awards you received, please.
3rd place. This is a plaque for Mr. Haskins.
School.
And Tom, you were going to mention who helped them prepare, how you were your partner in that?
Yeah, which one?
The car?
I do want to thank Carbone Honda and Carbone Ford, actually, Carbone Motor Group. They did an outstanding, incredible job. I called them, and for an instructor to call the dealership and ask for a brand new car that the students can practice on and learn on, that's hard to do. And all I did is ask them, and they were more than happy to. What do you need, and how long do you need it for? So they were fantastic, and we hadn't had a Ford dealership in town for a while before that, so every year we struggled and had to rent cars, and just, we weren't able to prepare like we should have, so it was nice this year, so it really made it good.
Great. Any questions from any of the board?
It's terrific. I'm proud of them.
Oh, yeah,
They
that's
should be
definitely
proud
something
of
to be proud
themselves.
of. Well,
And thank you to their instructor also for
Yeah, yes.
the time to help them prepare.
absolutely, absolutely, yep. Good job, guys. Thanks for coming in tonight, too.
Yeah.
Now we'll do Skills USA. Kathy?
I think most of you know me. I'm Kathy Slade. I'm the medical professions teacher, and I'm the CDC advisor for Skills USA. Skills USA is unique in that it's not set for any one discipline. Anybody who attends technical education can take part, so there are competitions and medical things, engineering, culinary, communications, there's graphic arts, there's auto, there's carpentry, there's tons of things there. These are some of the students who won awards. We actually, at the state competition, we got 8 gold medals, 2 silvers, and 3 bronze. What I have here, Jimmy Mazzola is one of the 4-member team of the Health Knowledge Bowl. They won a gold medal. Marissa Fowler is one of a 2-person team who got the gold medal for video, TV video production, with her partner Nick Pembroke, who couldn't be here. And we do have the video that they put together that you'll be able to see. And this is Amelia Cummings, and she is actually in the short block for medical, the pre-medical program, and she won the bronze medal for first aid CPR. Some other medal winners, the rest of the Health Knowledge Bowl team, Ryan Armstrong, Mike Plaisance, Chrisma Patel. T-shirt design, Katarina Hulbert got a gold medal, and promotional bulletin board, they got gold and silver. Zach Washburn got gold, Greg Thompson got silver. And other silver medals, Rachel Sandoval got a silver medal for customer service. Other bronze medals, Trenton Endress got a bronze medal for culinary arts, and Benjamin Gelheiser got a bronze medal for technical drafting. So really a huge wealth of competitions. June 24th to 29th, we're going to, gold medal winners will be going to nationals in Kansas City, Missouri, and that's a pretty unique experience. About 15,000 people descend on Kansas City in just such a wide array of different kinds of competitions, and great opportunity to meet different kids. So anything, Julie Mazzola, Marissa Fowler, Amelia Cummings. And you want to show us your video? Sure. Yes.
Sure, good.
America needs my skills as a nurse.
America needs my skills as a videographer.
America needs my skills as a carpenter.
Skills USA has been preparing students for the competitive job market since 1965. With over 300,000 members and 96 hands-on skill and leadership competitions every year, Skills USA is preparing students for the skills they need. Skills USA, champions at work.
I'd just like to add something to all the students that are here that participated in these competitions. What you do is you take a step above and beyond the norm as students by participating in these. And I want to give you a lot of credit for doing that, because I think you gain a lot from these competitions, to go out there and compete against other students, other schools, particularly other states now. and to take that step, to have the courage, the initiative, and the responsibility to do that. It's really great to see. We're really proud that you're stepping up above and beyond everyone else. And thank you for doing it. Okay. We're going to move on with committee reports and minutes. Do we have any committee reports this evening? I don't believe we do we? Good. Yes. Yeah. So we'll go on to the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve the full board meeting.
Second.
Minutes for April 18th, 2013. Moved by Fran,
Second.
seconded by Kevin. Kevin actually said it first. Any questions on the full board minutes? Everyone should have gotten a copy of those. No questions, no concerns. All those in favor then of accepting those minutes, please signify by raising your hand. 2, 3, and that is unanimous. And the minutes of the Ed Facilities Meeting, April 8th, 2013.
So moved.
Moved by Francis and seconded by Leon. Any questions on that? Any concerns or comments? Seeing none, please signify by raising your right hand if you approve that motion. And that too is unanimous. Warrants. We'll start with payroll warrant number 21, 1039, 22, and number 1040. A motion to accept the payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Francis. That time Gloria jumped in.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor accepting the payroll warrants then? That too is unanimous. Vendor warrant 1041. A motion on that? Moved by Leon, seconded by Francis. Any questions or concerns? Moving right along, and we'll take a vote on that then. All in favor of the vendor warrants? And that is unanimous as well. Okay. In your packet is the cash flow statement, the revenue and expenses. I hope you've had a chance to look that over. We are getting now to close to the end of the school year. Any concerns, any comments? Nope, then we'll move on. We are going to go right to action items, and we have some nominations first off as action items that we're going to entertain to begin with, and I'll turn that over to Jim.
Thank you. The first nomination you have is, I don't know what your order is, but I'll talk to you about our .5 business manager. As you can see, there were 8 applicants. We interviewed 3 of the 8. There was a paper selection process first that we were looking for people with accounting experience, not just business experience, so that's what kind of weeded that out. Brought 3 people in for approximately a 1-hour interview. And then from there, we brought, and you can see how many people were involved in the interview. Then we brought 2 candidates back for to spend the day in the business office with our current business staff. And then we evaluated how that went and made the decision and brought the recommendation that is before you today for Stephanie Mulligan. And I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Just for a point of clarification, and particularly for our new board members, if you look at the NOM form, you notice where he's talked about people that were on the committee that interviewed, okay? So that's always listed on the NOM forms, how many candidates, et cetera, and usually a little bit of a background, licensure information, et cetera, all right? So that's pretty much standard procedure, and that really is the key to how the person is chosen, okay?
Why was this position, oh, I'm sorry, Amy.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
Why was this position appealing to her?
Because I believe it allows her to maintain, she has a business, so she'll be able to do both. That's why the part-time business is attractive for her. So she'll still be able to deal with her clients, which is the fit that we were looking for, which I don't know who, when you came on, and we were looking to model the program that is more at the tech center. There's 3 independent tech centers in the state, one being in Springfield, and that is a model that they do for business services. They have an independent contractor who is an accountant, who is their business manager. But this person is actually going to come on and be our employee part-time, and still do their businesses. So what the schedule be, I don't know. I'm open to flexibility on this as long as we can get part-time service, and then certain times it's going to be more hours in one week and less in others, but it is a professional position. I expect that they will behave that way, and I'm looking forward to making this work.
I'll get to you. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Ed.
Under experience, she lists assistant treasurer for MAU, SVSU, and North Bennington. Is that an appointed position? Or?
No, I don't believe it is. I believe that the person that is the treasurer is the person that is appointed, but she works for that person also. So it is not an appointed position by
Okay.
MAU.
In other words, she's not an SVSU employee
No,
or
she
an
is
MAU
not.
employee. She's an employee of the elected treasurer.
Exactly.
Okay.
The only thing, benefits?
She would be entitled, part-time employees are, over a certain hour, would be entitled to benefits. What the percentage is different, so we still have to work that out. Because an administrator receives in their contract here the same benefits the teachers do, and teachers who work part-time do get benefits. So we would be hard-pressed to deny them at this point.
And one last question. According to the experience information listed here, she has like 7 part-time jobs at the moment, if you count all of the various organizations that she's an assistant treasurer to. Is she going to have to give up any of that, or did that come up in the interview?
It didn't
In
come
order
up
to-
about what she has to give up, but what did come up is what is expected for performance here
Okay.
and obligation to us. So how she balances that would, show up in any review.
What constitutes part-time, 25?
I would be at a minimum 20 hours per week. Currently it's a 40-hour per week job, so and the salary is half of what is currently being paid.
And that would be on site.
On site, yes. And we will still negotiate what that's going to be, whether it's, 5 mornings per week or 2 full-time days and 1 half-day. Again, with flexibility, there are certain times when warrants are being done that it might be more than 20, so we will track it accordingly.
Francis?
One last question. Administrators, and they're different from the teacher's contract though, that type of thing. So I'm just saying they shouldn't be getting the same thing as what the teachers are getting. I mean, we can look at it later, but I'm just saying, I don't think that's,
No,
as far as benefit packages
Yeah.
go, they're not going to get the same thing as what the teachers get.
I'll have to recheck the wording for him, but I think there's something about that. If something is not specifically listed in their contract, then they do get that, but I'll re-verify it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds like a negotiating thing.
it could be, but,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Then I'm looking for a nomination for, or a motion for this nomination. Evan, and seconded by Leon. Any further discussion? All those in favor of this nomination, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous, Barb. Your next one, Jim?
The opening for a culinary arts instructor, I'm recommending Jamie Lynn Schmidt. You'll see that we had 9 applicants. We interviewed 5, and we used a similar process from the 5 that we interviewed. We brought 2 candidates in, and they spent the day with us, and we had them give a classroom lesson, a demonstration lesson in the kitchen, and then work with the students in the kitchen. They were given emailed prior to their arrival. They were given what the ingredients were that they were going to find in our culinary program when they arrived, and if there was anything additional that they wanted, they could bring. And so then the 5 interview team members also spent time going in and out of the classroom during that day observing, and then the team got back together and made a unanimous recommendation. So move that forward to you also. I want you to know the process. I think the process went very well. It took a little time to do it, but I think we gained a lot of insight by bringing them in to have them teach for us. As much as you can gain in one day, but more than you would get sitting across the table from them.
Second.
I have a question. This is listed as a full-time position, is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
But yet the salary is not twice as much as the part-time.
Well, the part-time position is administrative position, and this salary is dictated by the line and column of the teacher's contract. So we go by how many years of experience they have, what degree they have, so,
So the part-time position is what we were discussing in the last meeting about the business
Yes.
management position.
yeah.
Okay, I understand. I thought that was an instructor also.
Oh, no, it's not a
Okay.
business teacher, no.
All right.
No, it's the business manager.
I just want to make sure that you guys are clear on the teacher's contract, the steps and how we arrive at the salaries. And if you have any concerns, any questions on that.
I can briefly explain too. One, what degree they have puts them in what column they're in. You know, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, beyond master's, how many credits. The step gets a little bit complicated. The contract says if they're teaching somewhere and they come to work here, I give them 1 year for every year they've been a teacher. So if they've been teaching for 5 years, they're going to get 5 years experience from us, up to a maximum cap of, I think, 10 days. Work experience, which is where we hire most of our teachers, come from, right from their related fields. The contract stipulates that I can give them 1 year of experience for every 2 years that they work in their trade. So that's how we place them on the contract scale that way.
And then this candidate will have to go through your licensing?
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be, I think it's 8 courses. They have 3 years to complete. Really how to be a teacher. The first 2 is teaching methods 1, teaching methods 2. Then have to take a psychology class, and I forget what's in there. I believe it's 8 courses. They have 3 years to complete it. And they also have to take the praxis test, which is a basic writing, reading, and math test that they have to take and pass to be able to get a license from the state of Vermont. There is another way to achieve that if they have taken the SATs in some time in their life and it's above a certain score, which I don't know what that is. That can be a waiver for taking the praxis test. So it is, and we, in every interview, and I'm glad you brought up, it's a good point, we stress how difficult it can be. Are you ready for the academic load that's going to be placed on you? You're coming from industry. In many cases, you're taking a cut in pay, and then you, on top of learning to be a teacher in your first year, and all the problems that go with the first time we place you before students, you got to go, and a lot of these courses, you got to drive to Randolph to Vermont Technical College to take, and as you know, it's not easy to get there. There are some online options, but not for everything. So it is a challenge for them, but we've been right up front, and they will be, all new teachers will be assigned a mentor by the contract. They'll receive a stipend. The other thing that we're planning on doing this year is that we're asking all new staff to come early, and we're putting a series of workshops together, kind of a new teacher boot camp that we're going to put them through to help them succeed.
Were there any applicants that had teaching experience?
Yes, there were. They were from that state south of us, what is that, Massachusetts? So I can say that because I'm from there. And we couldn't meet their salary requirements. And even if I matched them step for step, I did have a discussion with 2 individuals, placed them step for step on the scale. This is where, based on years of experience, and for one of them it was going to be a $28,000 cut in pay, so he politely declined. So there were, but no teachers certified by the state of Vermont that applied, if I recall correctly. In the process of doing it, yes. And even if you're a certified teacher in another state, reciprocity is not an automatic thing. It is with some states, but not every state. So that would be an agreement that Vermont would have, saying that we accept your teaching license. They still might make you take some courses. There are other options you can do. You can do what's called a transcript review. You can submit all your college transcripts and show, here's the courses that I've taken. The Agency of Education would review it and decide whether...
Oh, it's the peer review process.
Yeah, right. And then a transcript review and a peer review. There's 2 different processes, or take the courses. Did we vote on that, or did I just talk too much?
No. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion that was made by, I think, Leon, and seconded by Francis, to accept this nomination for the culinary arts position. If there's no more discussion, why then, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand if you are in favor of this motion. That's unanimous. We're an agreeable board tonight. Any other nominations?
No.
That's it. Okay.
Not tonight, but I hope to have you more for your next meeting.
Okay, you have a resignation.
Yeah, before you, the resignation of our building trades teacher, James Carey, and
That is in the packet, that letter. We do need a motion to accept that.
Second.
Moved by Leon, seconded by Francis. Any discussion on this? All those in favor of accepting this resignation, then signify by raising your right hand. And that too is unanimous. We have to go out for our annual audit, and we have to submit a request for proposal, an RFP, for companies to put a bid in to do that audit. And I think we have to do that, what, every 3 years, I believe?
I think you got the old agenda. We decided that that was not an action.
Yeah, that's not an action item.
It will be next month.
Okay.
When we get the request for proposals back, but informing them of what's happening.
Informing them of, yeah, that we are going to RFP then for an audit of our records and our books. We'll have that one.
That's your other action.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I have that.
Our contract is going to be up with the current
Auditors.
Yes.
current auditors.
Right.
This is just automatically that we're going to be going out for audit.
Right.
And following good, acceptable business practice that maybe we rotate or change, so every 3 years, who that auditor might be, so a different set of eyes look at it, but we'll see what we get back for requests.
Well, the summaries in the back of my packet there, so it went out.
It went out, the RFP went out, but,
Right, this is the,
right, but we have nothing back to take any action on.
this is the summary of who bid.
I'm not aware that we have any bids back.
Well, we don't have it listed as acting on anyway, so we can have you review those
Yeah,
and put
and
those on in the
put it
next
on for the
meeting.
June
Yeah,
meeting, which is,
okay. We have to, I have to add another action item here because of legality in last board meeting's vote. And Ed brought this to my attention that I follow Robert's rules often as the chair, but statute, Vermont state statute supersedes Robert's rules. And in the case of when we voted last meeting, we voted on eliminating or cutting a position down to part-time, and eliminating the tech ed position in English. And according to the statute, the Vermont state statute, there has to be a majority of the board members present in order for the vote to pass. Okay, now the vote passed by a vote of 4-3, all right? But it was not a vote of majority of the members present, all right? There were 8 present. So they would need a 5-3 vote. I did not vote because I normally don't vote unless there's a tie.
and under Robertson, it's anything that you abstain was excluded and wouldn't count, but under Vermont law, it's different. Yeah.
That's right. So I'm looking to make this official, I'm looking for a revote on that motion. Does everybody understand?
They'll do that, but just to make sure, there's a lot of controversy and conversation about which one is which, but when you settle all the issues, I have no problem with revoting at all.
Can you explain that one more time?
Okay. The Vermont state law says, both in town meetings, like select board meetings, as well as school board meetings, that there has to be a majority of the vote, of the members present to vote in favor of the motion in order for it to carry. All right? The vote went 4-3, which is not, 4 is not a majority of the members present.
Gotcha. Okay, that's where you lost me. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There were 8 present, you needed 5. All right?
Yep, okay.
And from now on, we consulted with our attorney to get some clarification on the law and some advice. And his advice is, Mr. Chair, you should be voting. Yeah. So, you should be. You should be. Yeah, that's right.
Every vote?
I think you can, if you want to, you can. If you don't have to, it's usually to break a tie, but.
It's usually to break a tie, that's right,
Well,
but
but why choose not to?
Right.
if it's like the last vote, it's unanimous, everyone's
There's no
voting
need,
for.
but you're saying there's no need.
There's really no need,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's the chair's discretion on what to vote on and not.
Right.
If 11 members are present, there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be a
tie
problem,
vote.
that's right.
The only
That's
time
right.
he should legitimately vote is when, shouldn't say legitimately, but the need arises when there's a tie.
Right.
Years ago, we used to have a lot of those ties.
Yeah.
So what do we need?
We need a motion, yeah, then to
Accept the position as a, not position, but we had a motion to reduce the number of,
That motion be in the minutes.
yeah, that motion is in the minutes. Why don't we read it word for word so we don't,
Isn't it just a vote?
it is, it's just.
revote for that motion, we want to be exactly the same.
Jim will get this for us. Okay, so the motion was to cut the Tech English actually program, to eliminate the Tech English program, which eliminated the position down to .5, the current instructor. So I need a motion then eliminate the tech English program.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. The motion carries. Do we have a majority? We do. Okay. We're going on to the appointment now of the board
We just
member,
lost
the new board member.
78,000 tuition.
At the last meeting, we appointed a nomination committee of Francis and Leon, and I want to thank them for the work they've done and what they've had to go through with the candidates, and we'll turn it over to them for a recommendation.
I won't volunteer for any more of these jobs. Fran and I met several times to discuss. We had a total of 5 candidates that were interested in the position for Justin Corcoran for the rest of the year. And they had submitted emails and information and so forth along that line. And basically, what we did was took the information that each one of them submitted to us, and a couple of them I tried to make sure I had a conversation with. And then we tried to look at the CDC goals and the directions and what we're trying to do with this board and with the RGB and the direction that we're trying to go in, and whether that person would sort of fit into that position to give us a hand for this 9 months and so forth along that line. So Fran and I went back and forth, and I want to thank all, I'm trying to make sure that everybody's, and I want to thank all 5 for wanting to be part of the RGB board, but we only could elect 1. And so we went back and forth, and finally the committee recommendation for to the full board tonight for the service to take the place of Justin Corcoran for the next public election until that time is Jackie Kelly. I didn't want to mention all the other names of the candidates, letting you want to mention them, but I just wanted to know that we went through everything, and Jackie Kelly was who we're recommending tonight to be RGG board member. And so we'll need an action item to vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary that we do mention all the other candidates, although I would like to mention that I would encourage those other candidates at the time of the election, if they still would like to serve on the board, to please, get a petition together and run for a seat on the board, because we're certainly welcoming anyone who wishes to be on the board. And
Actually, according to the bylaws, which are part of the law, they're approved by the voters when the school is formed, the nominations committee is supposed to be a standing committee, and there should be an outside member to it. And part of their job is to go out and recruit people to run, to take out a petition, to recommend them to take out a petition and run for election for this board.
the revised bylaws doesn't call for an outside person, to my knowledge. So I dispute that. We'll look into that again.
Yes, we have to, because bylaws, the copy I have does say that.
We'll get together on that then,
Okay.
because that's not what I had understood. But we do have a standing committee. We do have a nomination committee. We did follow what the bylaws is. The only thing we did not make was the 30-day, and because it fell right after the election, there was not a board intact with officers on that first meeting. It was difficult to meet that 30 days. But we do have, we have followed the procedure. Any other comments? Yep.
I do. With my new board member hat on, this process is really not explicit in any document that I read about, other than just reaching out to you when I said, what do I do, aside from sending an email? And then there's, what did you want the candidate to do, et cetera. So I would like to suggest that something explicit be added somewhere, an addendum to, so we truly know when there is a vacancy, what the process is, what the role of the nominations committee is, what the person who has been recommended needs to do, et cetera. And then I'm assuming the nominations committee will follow up with how they've made this decision.
The process we followed was pretty much, at the last meeting, Leon asked that anyone that was interested to submit a letter to them, and that they submit in that letter the reasons why they would like to serve. So, but I don't dispute you, Jessica. I think you're right. I think that we probably need some refining along that lines of the where even the bylaws are spell it out. Maybe we need a little more language in that area, and I don't know what it would take to change the bylaws, you know, specifically as to the role of the nomination committee being a little more specific than the way it is written. But we'll look into that, and I think...
Because the bylaws that I have do say that it requires someone from, that's not a part of the board.
Okay.
So if that is an outdated bylaw, then we should all have a copy of that.
All right. We'll look into that. The other thing is, I agree. I think that we probably need a little more direction as far as how to prepare for that.
I guess what I would have liked to see, it's always easy to say in hindsight, but I would have liked to know who that person was before the meetings, because I have no idea who this person is. And even when I go to vote in an election, if I don't know the person, I try to do a little bit of research on that person to see if, I trust you two guys, I respect you two guys, so I'll certainly vote in that favor, but I just would like to have the name beforehand so I could at least, you know, do some research on my own and see if this person is really who at least I want to vote.
Well, I'm not voting for this person because I don't know her.
Oh, you don't?
We
Just changed my mind.
If you read today's paper, you had an article in the paper today.
Well, I don't read, I didn't read the paper.
But I have everything that we needed to know, and what we tried not to do here is every one of the candidates provided information, phone call conversation with me in terms of why they wanted to be part of this board. And we looked at that, I said, and we compared that to what the bold goals were for this board and so forth. This is a 9-month interim position, and this is for us, and it's just temporarily. So we can make it as difficult as possible if we want to, but or we can just leave it blank.
Well, I don't want to make it difficult, I just
so
made a comment, that's all I did.
No,
but it's without sharing all the information about all the candidates. I mean, if you want to know something about this candidate, I have the information. I can just keep telling you as much as you want to know about it if you need to know more.
I didn't even hear the name, to be honest with you. I don't even know who this person is, even the name, because I didn't hear it. I don't even know where they're from. So,
well,
those two things would be nice.
It would be, I mean, let me see what I'm trying to, read a little bit of something.
While you're looking for that, I just want to comment this. We went back and forth on this of whether the boards all the board members should be getting all the letters and all the background information, et cetera. And there was no direction, again, in the bylaws that says that should happen. You know, so again, as Jessica's pointing out, maybe let's refine this and come up with a better working plan. I kind of like that idea.
And maybe what we should have done is just brought her letter of recommendation with us. Maybe we could have done that, then you would have had it before, at the beginning of the meeting, and can make a decision for that. So that would probably be what we should have done.
I'm not saying you know all of them, just the one you
Oh, no,
That's
no,
what
but you're
I
right.
still have that. We can still get that in the minutes. I mean, for what the last correspondence that I have, if you wanted to hear that, and I mean, in terms of that, it's not a problem. This is one of the things you want to know something about the person. We have a lot on the person, and I have a lot on all the person out here. But this particular one that you wanted to know, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how much you want to know. And so,
maybe if you tell us why you chose this one.
I did. I said that once we went over what their qualification was and so forth, and then we went over the goals and directions what this board was in and trying to go forward, this person was the best fit to put in here for the 9 months. And that's what I said out here. So, without having to say much more than that. So let me just read so you know who's coming in, and then the person that can tell you next week or the next month who they are, and I'll read per se here. Dear CDC board members, I'm currently a resident of Bennington, and I would like to express my interest in serving on the CDC board. Like many people in Bennington, I take pride in the fact that Bennington has an additional kind of educational system that gives students a technical background for the future jobs. As a long-time educator, I recognize that when students develop skills and become proficient in what is interest to them, they become more directive in their own education and begin to explore career areas that would allow them to be a productive citizen. As a board member, I would be an asset to the curriculum design, online class, and technical knowledge. I have taught many online classes in the military to the military members in their spouse. This venue helps students organize their learning and their ability and allows students to learn at their own pace. I have also taught online classes to teachers that were blend instruction units. These 2 credit classes were instructed by having 3 classes meet and interfered with online classes, model testing, and final presentations. From these experiences, I have learned that some students learn best online classes. However, those new to online classes are best served by a blending class. In addition, I have taught computer classes, and I have been a webmaster for over 10 years, and presently I'm a volunteer webmaster in the Bennington Arts Gallery and a Plague Air Vermont group. I understand that the technical skills that students need and have use computer programs and design elements that is expected for many jobs in the future. This is just one part of the information that I got and went through with her, with Fran, from her. The background is explicit in terms of what was provided to me and we had to go through. So I think this person is going to be a real asset to this board based on what we're trying to do here. And I have all of the information that, but right now, I think this is based on what I know, is what I'm trying to say, that this is the kind of information that we went through, and I wouldn't want to go through all the rest of it. And we urge, just like Jim said, that all the rest of the candidates come at the end of the 9 months can line up and run and be more specific to anything that they want to have out there. But right now, this is the recommendation from this committee. You can take it or not.
All right.
I know Jackie. She and I serve on the AAUW board. She's the secretary. I'm very impressed with her. She's very responsible, has wonderful ideas, and I feel she would be a great addition to our board.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'll make a motion, we accept Jackie Kelly for our new board member.
All right.
That's
And
appropriate.
that's been seconded by Francis. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Okay.
Great job.
Good job. Thank you, both of you. I know, that was a
It's
tough
more
one.
folks.
That was a
It's
tough
not an
one.
easy job.
I will, I'll contact Jackie if you give me the contact information. We do need to get her to the town clerk's
Yeah,
office.
she has
to
a
be
phone
sworn in.
number.
Okay. And I'll welcome her to the board.
I'll give that to you.
Okay, thank you.
So back to the bylaws issue.
Okay.
Is that something that the policy committee
Yeah.
then takes on?
Yeah.
I don't, there's a lot. It's not as simple as we think. I have to say that. Part of it is town responsibility. We don't go right through and say that this is a part that we were given that as an option for this board to be able to do. And if you want to have somebody, I mean, Ed was making a discussion, go through and look at all that and work with Tim Corcoran on what it is that he thinks we ought to be doing versus what we are doing if we're not doing what he thinks we ought to be doing. Because there's a lot to it than just saying we can sit here and make up our mind to do something. Well, it's got to be heard with some other things as well, and with it within a certain time frame and all that kind of stuff. So,
Well, I think it's worth, especially if there's a conflicting issue about what makes a committee, then, I mean, bylaws are bylaws. Why are we governing board if we're not going to follow bylaws?
Yeah, and the bylaws were approved by the state legislature, and I don't remember the vote in 2002 or 2003 to establish the CDC as an independent school, but I think the voters also approved the bylaws on a ballot vote. And the board can amend them, but there's a process for that.
Yeah, that's what we need to look at. If we are going to move and make some adjustments to that procedure, well, then we would have to amend them. And we may have to go back to the voters or the legislature for approval, but we'll need to look into that to make sure.
And I don't know the answer to that.
We might need legal counsel on it.
Yeah, we'll do a little research on that and bring that back to the next meeting, because I don't think
there may be a volunteer here that would love to just go out and get that research and bring it back. Anybody volunteer?
Ed?
Oh, you guys read my email, huh?
Well, I just want to make sure that,
No,
that we bring up some things, that somebody starts to go out and dig into some of this work and bring it back. You know, that's all.
I think it should be put into some kind of practical procedure for when this comes up, because we've replaced board members probably about 6 or 7 times since I've been here. So it's a routine, almost a routine thing where people get too busy and have to resign or.
Let's start with Tim Corcoran.
And I'll happily jump in too. But as a new board member, I feel like I have the right to say, I see a concern, this is my 3rd meeting.
Of course. Of course
And I want to be comfortable enough to voice that at the meeting.
Sure.
So whatever help needs, I'll happily step up.
It's important you do speak up.
Thank you.
So did I get a nod from Ed that he would go ahead then and do something?
Yeah,
I know you will.
I'm not promising a deadline.
Okay. No, because we got a full board. There's no hurry, but I appreciate if you do some research on that. Thank you. All right. Superintendent's report is the next item on the agenda.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to say I hope that you noticed when you were walking in this evening that our sign has been installed over the front entrance. It was a process with assistance from the town in getting our permit, thank you, and then waiting till the weather was warm enough to apply the vinyl. That's what the delay was. So we've received many compliments from people about the visibility of the sign, and it's clear marking that this is the entrance to the Career Development Center, and I'm told you can see it as you're turning at the lights.
Yeah,
So, also, our front entrance garden beds have received their spring cleanup in an attempt to make our entrance as inviting and presentable as possible. I really feel that how our building looks makes a statement about how we view ourselves and what is transpiring inside. Also, what probably will be going out front there once we figure out where it's going, our school store and the CDC through the store was a sponsor for the Catamount Prowl, thank you, with the Chamber of Commerce. I mentioned that at previous meetings, and the cats have been completed, and they will be unveiled Wednesday night at the former Bennington Brush Company in their building, and then displayed by the sponsors, which we are one of, till the fall, when they will be sold at an auction to complete the fundraiser. This has been a great opportunity for our school store to contribute to the greater good of the community. And currently there is a Name the Catamount contest going on in the store, with the originator of the name being awarded a prize from the store once that name is selected. So I understand that once before the CDC sponsored the Moose competition, and the Moose ended up on the roof of the building. I'm not really sure where we're gonna put it yet, the Catamount, to, one, protect it and to,
Is the roof still up there?
no, because we don't, we would have had the bid at the auction then to buy it, and that's not our intent. So we're a sponsor of the initial part of it, aligned with an artist, and then, I haven't seen it completed yet, but I understand that our Catamount is supposed to represent the natural materials of Vermont, and it looks like it's been carved from marble, the base being one kind of marble, and the cat itself being a different type. But I've only seen pictures, but I haven't seen it up close yet. So that's Wednesday night. I began the school year by conducting individual half-hour meetings with our staff, giving them the ability to talk one-on-one with me, to bring their questions, concerns, comments, and probably even a few complaints. It is often difficult to bring some of these things up at our larger monthly staff meetings, so this gives me an opportunity for one-on-one time with me. So last week I started the same cycle for the end of the year. I have scheduled, or I'm having Sandy actually schedule half-hour meetings with all staff members. They started last week, and they'll continue to the end of the year. I hope to gain insight to how their year has gone, and to receive recommendations for improvement from them. And I will be taking notes in it, and I find it helpful, and I hope it gives them a forum too that they can privately display their concerns and comments. So wanted to let you know that that was going on. We mentioned the audit RFP, so I don't need to go over that. At this time, I'd like to ask Mike Lawler to give an update on something that happened during April school vacation concerning the installation of the smart boards that went into classrooms, and he'll know a lot more about it than I could pretend to. So Mike.
Thanks, Jim. Sometime about this time last year, a lot of board members saw a presentation over in room 147 on the new smartboard technology. We've had some of the older smartboards here in the building for a while, but this was the newest generation of smartboard, and well received by the board and teachers that were using them. And so over April break, we were able to have 5 more of those boards installed in building trades, accounting, medical professions, computer lab, and cosmetology. Again, even newer model in those classrooms. And staff attendance training 2 weeks ago. We brought a trainer in here from Smart Technologies, who's a certified trainer, and spent some time with the staff. Kathy, a couple hours, I think, first round?
2.5 hours.
Okay, and to come back and follow up with them again with questions and some more training in another week or so for that. Well received, the smart boards. I think Mrs. Slade's the only one that's here, but she's very happy with it. And it's really modernizing some of our classrooms, and they're wonderful. So if you haven't seen one in action, we'll be happy to show that again to you if need be. They're a phenomenal tool for the classroom.
I'm sorry I wasn't completely listening because I was reading my next. And did you mention how we paid for these?
It was with a state equipment grant that we, correct me if I'm wrong, we get it yearly, but it's not the same amount, and we have to apply for it and make recommendations to the state of what we want to do. And they either approve it or not, basically. And they approved, and actually came down and looked at the classrooms where we're going to put them. So that leaves us with, there are 9 of the newest generation smart boards in the building now. So.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, are those updated even more so than the one you showed us in there last year?
A little bit. Not substantial, but
Okay.
we have a little bit change.
Any other questions for Mike?
Sorry.
No, that's it. Ask them all.
I have one quite unrelated question, if you're done with your report.
No, I'm not done with my report. I have more, but do you,
It doesn't relate to the
smart boards?
smart boards? No, let's hold up with the other in a minute.
I want to give you an update on where we are with the interviews for other positions. You had recommendations tonight that were successful. We've held first-round interviews for computer technician, agriculture, building trades, and engineering, and we will do so for law enforcement this week. As of today, we have not received any applications for cosmetology. It is my hope that we will present recommendations for all positions at our June meeting. We are trying to move quickly so that we, who whom that we hire will have the opportunity to enroll in some of the summer offerings of the classes that they will need to complete. There is Methods 1 and Methods 2 being offered this summer, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to rush it to the point that we, rush to judgment on selecting a candidate. So, wanted to update you on that. Strategic planning, I wanted to mention that. Gloria, our strategic planning meeting committee has been meeting faithfully, thanks to Gloria. We did not meet this month because I think we're at a crossroad. The committee has had many discussions and has begun plans for holding a community encompassing event, a big community-wide event, to receive community input for the development of our future strategic plan and for clarifying the mission of the CDC, particularly our role in the economic development and education of the workforce. We put that on hold for one reason, and that's because it seems so many other organizations are chasing the same thing. And I just want to read a list, and I don't mean this in jest, but some of the committee meetings that I've been going to, we have the Bennington Economic Task Force. Of that, the subcommittee that I've been starting to attend meetings to, Workforce and Education Committee, which is a subcommittee of that. We have the Workforce Investment Board, which has recently lost its funding. The grant funding for that has gone away. So the vote last week was to roll that into the next organization, the Bennington County Regional Commission. So that will become a subcommittee of the Bennington County Regional Commission. We have an Adult Workforce Council. We have Bennington County Industrial Corporation. We work with the Chamber of Commerce. Tomorrow morning, and this is part of my report, at the Firehouse at 7:30 in the morning, the Vermont State College Workforce Development Forum is being held with their partners who are I should put all my notes in the same place. Their partners who are the Bennington Economic Development and School and Workforce Partnerships of Bennington County and Vermont State Colleges. And I don't want to leave out the Better Bennington Corporation, and there's probably some others that I've missed. My point is, the field is a little crowded, and I think the time is not right for us to conduct a forum, but that does not mean that our strategic planning committee's work is done. We need to refocus on our mission statement and our philosophy and continue to increase our presence on these other organizations that I've mentioned. So I guess my point on that is Gloria, who's done some outstanding work with strategic planning, and we really wanted to go to have a forum and ask the community to come in and give us ideas. I don't think we would get the attendance right now. I really don't, with all these other forums going on. But I don't know when our next meeting's going to be, but I do think that we need to, we had started to do some work on whether our mission statement needs to be updated. It was last done for the NEASC visit of 5 years ago, so that would mean that it was probably done a year or two before that in preparation of the NEASC visit. So it could be approaching 7 years old. So it's time that we look at that and see if it still applies to our goals. Right.
We can reassess those.
But I know that we had mentioned to you about a community event, but that's not going to happen right now. So that's my update on strategic planning. We had a grant compliance review conducted by the state of Vermont last month in preparation for their audit by the federal government. They only came in and looked at our federal funding, which is just Perkins for us, and how we spend it and how we account for that spending. I have the report back. We are currently reviewing it. We have to file a corrective action plan on their findings by the end of the month. So I will put that all on the agenda for June, but I wanted you to be aware that it had happened. We also contracted with SimQuest Technology for a technical assistant visit and a review of our technology infrastructure. We have just received that back, and I will also put that on next month's agenda. Basically, SimQuest is a consulting technology company that comes in. They review our servers. I'll probably have Mike give you that presentation at the June meeting, because he'll speak better to that than I will, but they do a thorough audit. They look and see what we're doing in our technology, what our servers doing, put what they call agents onto our servers, which tracks what's going on there, things being backed up, our safeguards in place, and then advise us of where we're vulnerable in our internet system, in our data systems, and all of that. So I think that was very helpful, but we'll give you a full update at the June meeting. But just in case you heard that was going on, I wanted you to know. A heads up, you'll be getting an invitation in the mail. Awards night is Tuesday, June 4th. You put that on your calendar now if you want, but you will get an invitation. The other thing that I wanted to make you aware of, because I want to commend the MAU maintenance staff. We had been historically, I'm told, having trouble balancing out our HVAC system. And upon investigation by, I believe, Bennington Cooling and the MAU maintenance staff, they determined that somewhere in the original construction project, the access doors to the HVAC system were never installed, which means that the cleaning of the system and getting to coils, the heating coils for cleaning and all that, were difficult, if not impossible. It's great that we found out now. I don't know why it took so long, but so for a cost of just under $2,000, the maintenance staff installed 32 access doors into our HVAC duct system that allowed them then to clean the system and the coils, which has resulted in a substantial improvement in the airflow and the control of the system. And I want to add again a thank you to the maintenance staff that completed the work in-house, because they also did it for $2,000 less than they originally estimated. So it was just under $2,000. So a thank you for them, and we have seen a much better, particularly in some of the air conditioning units. I also would like the facility to meet in the future with the facilities committee. I want to talk to you about the changes that are being proposed in school security, mainly door locking and access, because we're tied into Mount Anthony, so what they're doing, then we're doing, and so I'd like to discuss that with the committee. And the last thing that I want to bring up in my report, we've been talking about the agriculture program for almost the entire time that I've been here. We advertised it last year for new members who didn't know that. We're all set to go on that. And then we had to cut the budget, and at that time it made sense to cut the money in the budget for a program that we didn't have, as opposed to cutting an existing budget. So I know there's been some email chatter back and forth about what the agriculture program, if we restart it, what it's going to look like. And I know I've been talking about it as far back as the February meeting, but not everybody's always there, and sometimes maybe I don't speak clear enough. So I've put on paper for you just some points about the agriculture sustainable foods position that we're advertising for and how it's going to roll out. I don't want to read it all to you. You can look at it at your leisure, and if you have a question later on because you need some more time to look at it, I'll be glad to answer. But basically, what we're calling an agriculture sustainable foods instructor is what the grant that we're attempting to get will support. The horticulture program that we had here before would not qualify for any grant funding, in my opinion, because it wouldn't be considered innovative or linking to what Vermont's goals are for local sustainable food systems. That's really the terms that they're using. And to those, if I'm repeating myself, sorry, but there won't be a teacher. I mean, there would be a teacher here next year. There wouldn't be students until possibly the second half of the year, but that's not a guarantee either. You really would be funding this position for 1 year that would allow this person to design and develop the program according to the standards, and working closely with the middle school that has an agricultural program, and I've been going to the middle school. I went to one. I'm going to all of them now. The middle school agriculture committee or the MAU agriculture committee. And we're welcome up there to build our program there. And as I said in one of the notes, it's no different than, and I know I've stated this before, no different than what we do with our building trades program or forestry. They come to the classroom, they get their instructions, their equipment, they get on a bus and they drive to the site. And the middle school is not that difficult to get to. It's close by. I think it's, and again, a great recruiting program for our future programs here, because we'd be on site, and who knows what else we could bring up there as we build in the future. In my perfect vision, we are supplying some of the vegetables to our culinary program, so our menus list the source, just like you see is the trend in restaurants throughout Vermont. I don't know if that explains or helps with any of the questions that we have. The curriculum isn't designed. That's what we would hire that person to do, with the guidelines of what the state would approve under that grant. They basically would be, the grant is pretty specific about what they would be looking for. I listed some of those items that they'd be looking for as far as workforce and articulation agreements and all that. It's all there. They would have to do all of that work or it wouldn't fly. So that, I saved that the last because that was one of the long scenes, but that concludes my report. But any questions on any of it, I'd be happy to answer.
Ed?
I'm not sure I follow what you're saying. In item 6, you talk about a $75,000 one-year startup grant, and then you also said we'd have to fund it for the first year. And
There's no guarantee of the
I'm trying to connect the two.
The grant would actually be for the second year. We don't have, they would have to write the grant.
Okay.
Yeah. So we would have to fund that first year, which we have made the changes in our budget to do that. So you have the money to fund it for this year. The $75,000 would really be to help buy the equipment. I mean, you could use it for the you can use it for salary, but really the goal would be for the equipment that we would need in year 2. And there's no guarantee that we would get it either.
I mean, so there is a grant application.
Yes. 15 pages.
Yeah, I mean, Dropbox will hold all that. Can we get that so we can look at what it is that the grant application is
Yes.
asking for?
Yeah.
That's online.
Yeah.
You can get that
Yeah.
online, yeah.
Is there a title or a name for it?
I can scan it and give it to you. I have it in hard copy, so we can scan it and email it to you.
Awesome.
I don't need a copy of that.
Well,
I
it's
do-
just that the grants are a lot of times very specific when
Yeah.
you're talking about equipment.
I do think that it is not specific on equipment. I do think that brings up a good point, because, about communication, and like, I know you said you don't want it. My philosophy, I don't really know what to do when I get a request from a board member, so I'd like to see that. I believe that what I give to one, I should give to everybody, whether you want it or not, and that's, I'll stand corrected on that.
Just put it in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
Put it in the Dropbox for board information.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah. Not all of you use the Dropbox. Right? Yeah.
How come?
All right. There are still some board members that we're giving hard copy to the board packet and they're not using it in the Dropbox. We're getting there, but that should have been a requirement of whoever you hired, that they can't have paper copies of the
Because I
agenda.
can't read.
All right, so I will put it in the Dropbox so it's available, because I feel better about that. Whatever I give somebody, it should go to everybody, so that, because you do function as a board, and that's, okay. Any other questions?
I have a question about a previous report. I was just wondering, how are we doing with our goals for the Schiller's report? I haven't heard about that in a while. I was just curious.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but I thought we had suspended
Okay.
that.
Well, I had a checklist and we were.
Right, I generated,
Now my checklist
and I
is
did
gone.
bring it tonight, but I thought after that vote that we had,
I,
remember, based on the Survey Monkey?
Oh, yeah, the monkey.
Yeah, right. But I could give, at the June meeting, I'd be happy to give one last updated of where I think we are on everything on that grid. So.
Just be
yeah,
nice
'cause
with the
there will
board
be,
members.
there'll be some updates.
Right.
That have occurred.
Because in some ways, you know, we're still pursuing, like, you know, we just hired a part-time business manager, you know, so we did address, I mean, the Schiller report was calling for the elimination of that position, so basically we rejected with a modified.
Sure.
So I can do that for the June meeting.
And I think that board training we had last month was good.
Okay, any other questions of the superintendent and his report? All right, then we'll move on to the chair report, and I'm going to kind of pick up on a little bit of what Jim touched on to begin with. You know, he does get requests, and he gets calls in from board members, you know, for some information, and he gets them in committee meetings, he gets them sometimes from me, from other board members. But what also takes place is there are board members that are contacting employees here for that information. And that's not proper. You don't call an employee and you ask for information without the superintendent knowing that you're doing that. I don't think that that's appropriate of a board member. And I'm going to ask all members that if you are specifically looking for some data, some figures, facts and figures and whatever, then if you're not comfortable with calling the superintendent, call me, and I'll make sure that that happens. But please don't call the guidance person. Don't call, you know, the teachers or whoever, or the business manager, and leave this guy out of the loop altogether, because that's not fair. Then wonder why this information isn't here or where it is. Okay, so
everything should come through you, and assignments to the superintendent should not be from an individual board member. I mean, we can say anything we want to we have subcommittee meetings,
right,
where maybe the confusion is probably coming out of the things, the action items for that, but in here, assignments are given to the superintendent by way of this committee, I mean, this board through you here, and certain, if you said, well, somebody just asked for a copy of the report and said, wait a minute, we're not gonna put that, and it's not gonna go there, that's all. So, in subcommittees, we do say certain things that we're working on something, but there's no task, no jobs given in terms of information, unless there's information that this board has been directed to say that we need to come forward with. I mean, it should be. So if somebody's doing that, it should be done.
I think the best way to handle it is work it through me if there's any concerns outside of the board meeting, and I'll get the answers through the superintendent or is appointed. Another issue I have is I'm concerned about, now before I get on to this one, let me just give you an update that Mr. Culkeen and I attended the Mount Anthony Union High School Food Service Committee meeting last month. And you recall that there was some controversy with their food service and our campus store and what we serve in our campus store. So we've been trying to work with them, you know, to come to some agreements. And they've been talking about putting out a new policy, et cetera, at Mount Anthony to address the food service issue. But at the last meeting, it's very apparent that the state is about ready to release some new directives. They're waiting any day now for that to happen. They expected it in May or June. And they expect that in that report, the directives are associated with nutrition and what can be served, et cetera, that they will address the issues where technical centers have culinary programs, have campus stores that sell and serve food, and et cetera. So it was pretty much unanimous at that meeting that we're going to wait and see what comes out before we move any further. But once that report does come out, if we see that there are some conflicts, some issues, I'm going to ask that we probably form the food service committee again here for this center to address any issues that may be in that report that affect us as a technical center here. Okay, and so I'll be looking for people to serve on that. At the same time, there are members of the Mount Anthony committee that came forward at the meeting that I was at, and I can't remember her name, but she is the food service coordinator up at the hospital. She's agreed to come in to speak to us, you know, because she's gone through a big revolution and change and what they're doing up there. And I thought that was very well received. I appreciated that. So I'm looking forward for the state to come out with that report so that we've got something to work off from and we can move forward in addressing the issues of nutrition for our students. Okay? Leon.
I was going to say that we have nutrition policies in place in both buildings and they operate under that. Now, the committee that you're talking about is the food service committee for serving food is an adjunct part of that. So we have a policy that when policies are sent down from the state, they go to the policy committee to review those things at both SVSU, because it's a system-wide, and the Southwest Vermont Career Development Center. So if policy changes are to be made, they'll be made through that process, and the procedural things that we do will be a procedure piece of that. But any hard policies will have to will, if they make changes, affect our policies that we have in place. And that's where we start. So it wouldn't do any good. I mean, you could have a subcommittee out here and then somebody else's, we still got to come back and we got to change a policy.
Yeah, that would have to happen.
That's right. In place.
I agree.
That exists for the high school and this center. And right now, we are not in conflict with what we're saying we're doing versus what that we're doing at the center over there. I know what people want to do, but the part that you talked about, we're a technical center and we have technical courses and education to take place here, and we're not in the business of serving students food on a meal plan basis, and we have worked together to try to make sure that we don't overlap for certain things out here. So I don't want anybody to get confused out there. We're a technical center, and if we're going to cook, and if that's part of our curriculum and so forth, we're going to make sure we manage that.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. That if anything were to occur that needed to change to the existing policy, that's where we go to the policy committee first. But a subcommittee maybe to examine some of the issues, if issues do arise from this report, might be, I'm giving you a heads up, might be in order as well, as you stated. I do have some issues though regarding a lack of policy that we seem to have in addressing students being transported by faculty members. And I was made aware of an issue where we don't have that, and there were some faculty members that were transporting students. So I'm going to look at the policy committee to examine that, because we could be in some trouble with faculty members transporting students to whatever, even if it's a job site or whatever. So we're going to call the policy committee together to examine what we might need in that area.
I think it was a procedure piece, not so much the policy, but it was a procedure piece of it. I was trying to find, but
Okay.
That's all.
If you could get to me anything you might have on that, Leona. I couldn't find policy on it, so I would appreciate that. I do have a concern of any liability we may be incurring from that. The last item I have is, we have a grievance that the Teachers Association has filed with us, and I want to share that with you in our superintendent's response. I need to make you aware of this. I don't think this is executive session material, therefore I'm going to share with you the background of this and what the grievance is, and so that you're aware, and we'll move from there and see what happens with this, because it's now reached what they refer to as a stage 3 process. I received a letter from Deb Berard, who is the one of the association officers. And the letter reads, in recent job postings on schoolspring.com for teaching staff, one of the requirements is willingness to obtain a CDL school bus driver's endorsement. Article 29.22 of the CBA, that's the contract, says that the administration may not rename or redefine a position defined in this agreement, create new positions under this contract that have the effect of increasing the teaching load of existing instructional staff without bargaining for the change. Therefore, in light of adding this new requirement without the prerequisite required negotiations and agreement with the association, a violation of this contract provision exists. All right. In addition to the violation cited above, Article 28-3 requires that the president of the SWVEA receive in writing a notice of all teaching vacancies. To date, the SWVEA president had not received notice of any vacancies. Discovering the vacancies through on-site websites adds this further violation of the express term of the CBA. When the grievance was first presented to Mr. Colkeen, his response was this: Deb, we reject the grievance under Article 2922, but we believe that the administration has neither renamed or redefined a position in this agreement. However, we have no objection to using the word preferred as opposed to willingness in all future postings. There is a significant cost in advertising the position again, and therefore we reject advertising the position. We'd be willing to repost the position internally with the changes. Concerning Article 28.3, as I said in our meeting, I will not discuss any discipline action taken against an employee responsible who was to place the posting in the president's mailbox, other than to say appropriate action has been taken to assure that the individual understandings that it cannot happen again. I can tell you that a job posting process checklist will now be used by our office to confirm that all steps include president notification and that will be followed. So Mr. Colkeen responded to the grievance. The grievance committee, apparently from the association, rejected his response, and they are now requesting step 3 to the board, that within next 30 days they are asking for a hearing in front of the board on this matter. Okay? So that's where we stand right now, and that's to keep you informed that we will probably now have on the agenda item for the next meeting a hearing with the association regarding the language of our posting of our jobs.
What's that to do with the CDL? I guess I'm lost at that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, we have certain teachers that have a CDL, for example,
Okay.
all right,
To drive a bus.
to
yeah.
drive
Okay.
a bus to take their students off-site to work on an off-site location,
Okay.
okay? So we asked in our postings for jobs willingness to get that, because it's, again, a nice protection. Or
Okay.
for us to have.
The previous posting said preferred. So, as far, I reviewed back to 2010 and presented them with postings from 2010 that had that requirement in there all the time, so that, but the word was preferred, so that's why I said we'd agree to go back to preferred, but we don't think that we changed
A
a job description or the requirements for jobs.
Okay, but we're gonna have the hearing anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, I'm just
So-
trying to make sure that, what part of it is in conflict with, the conflict is in confliction with the policy or with the contract?
Contract.
With the contract, because okay.
Yeah.
We have to go back. to
They are
it.
reading that we're changing the job description of a teacher by putting in there willingness to get your CDL
Instead of preferred?
instead of
So
preferred.
we're fighting over a word?
I guess so.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
accepting, apparently they're not accepting preferred either, because he's already said he would change it to preferred.
Right. So what do they want it to say?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, we better have the hearing.
We better have the hearing and find out see if we can settle it, with them, and they're happy and we're happy as well. Okay? Good. Okay. That's all I have for the chair's report. Is there any other business that anyone else would like to bring up?
Wasn't there an issue about meeting with the selectmen?
Oh, I did want to mention that. We did try to get,
Yes.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Because it was supposed to happen, last I heard it was supposed to happen this morning, today, and it didn't happen. Apparently, they can't agree to getting everyone together. It's the selectmen, it's us, the superintendent of the SVSU,
And the chair of all their boards.
the chair of all their boards.
So the meeting that they want is the chair of every board, the superintendent of each school district, and 2 representatives from the select board. And we're all agreeing to meet. There's just, the dates haven't, it's a lot of people that they're trying to get together for a morning meeting. So the last email we had, we didn't have a confirmation for today.
Yeah. So we're still working on it.
I was just looking, do we have, and I couldn't find it just now, I got the hard copies of our contract, but we don't have them attached to our website, do we? The contracts?
No,
Yeah,
I'm getting a no for that.
yeah, I didn't see them, but I thought when you was talking, then to pull up the hard copy, I was gonna look to see what it was that we were supposedly in contract. But I don't know that it's the rationale that says it ought to be there or not there along that line, but I do know that new board members will probably need to look at that contract.
We'll put that into the Dropbox.
Yeah.
We'll put that
Because-
section into the
Because
Dropbox.
that's
so
probably
that
correct.
we-
New board members wouldn't have that contract. I'm sure we didn't give it to you.
Yeah, so the
Is
active
the union
contract,
saying that we're changing the job description?
Yeah.
And therefore increasing the duties of the teacher and?
this is nothing that we hadn't asked for. That's what I wanted to know and see what part of the policy teachers have been driving students for workforce. I think in our policy 3100, we asked today just be an approved list of drivers and aides for the students, but I don't know what other documents are out here. I know something was in the contract and we need to find that stuff.
Okay, we'll certainly get you the Article 28.22 and 28.3.
3100C is our transportation, and there may be some other parts out here that we need to look at and just make sure everywhere that we have something in that need to be of concern for transportation of students from one place to another or whatever, that it ties back into the policy.
Okay. Good. Let's see, no other business.
We need an executive
We
session.
do need an executive session. Yeah, I'm sorry, we need it for personnel issues. Yep. So can I have a motion to?
Second.
Moved by Fran, second.
What's the question? Mike, can I
Kevin,
hear
you want
you?
this? All in favor, move into executive session, we'll move right in next door as we normally do. please signify by raising your hand.
I'd like to ask a few questions and get a
I'm
few
gonna ask the
answers.
assistant
and
director
maybe I
to come in. Do you need a vote to ask him, or can you?
answer them.
No, just do
Yeah.
that. I need a vote to go to executive session. Please raise your hand that you approve that. Okay, thank you. We're going.